The 7-time world champion hasn't had quite the fairy tale start we were all expecting. Struggles, mistakes, and obviously an overhaul to his driving style to now be compatible with the SF25. In both Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, he was out-qualified by Carlos Sainz, who is in a much weaker car. And another not very great statistic is that in 2024 qualifying, Ali Behrman, who stepped into the car for FP3 in qualifying, was about 5.5 tenths off of Leclerc, and so was Lewis, and obviously Lewis is the more experienced teammate. Now, I'm not putting these things out to go at Lewis, because it is normal to adapt to a car, and Ali Behrman comes in with no experience, so really that's all that he knows. But he's recently talked a lot about how he needs to change his driving style and what he's doing to change it to adapt to this very tricky car to drive.
My focus this weekend is driving style. Really getting on top of the circuit. Yeah, I've got a lot of work to do to kind of adapt the way that I approach corners, but it's not impossible. Might just take a little bit of time, but hopefully not too long.
Leclerc is not happy with it, and Lewis clearly is taking a little bit more time than we expected to get up to grips, and we know that qualifying has not been his strongest ever since really the dominant era of Mercedes. But right before I get into all of that, today's video is sponsored by CyberGhost VPN. With over 38 million users worldwide, CyberGhost is one of the most trusted VPN providers on the market. A VPN is important because it truly protects your privacy. If you go on incognito mode, most people think that actually secures you from people seeing what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, but in reality, they can still track everything. With CyberGhost, it encrypts your internet traffic and reroutes it through secure servers in 100+ countries, and not even CyberGhost itself can see what you're doing, ensuring you complete privacy and security. As somebody that lives in America, Sky Sports, which is one of the biggest F1 providers, constantly blocks videos in my country. Using CyberGhost VPN, I can now watch the video, and CyberGhost itself works on all devices and operating systems, protecting up to 7 devices at once. This is also very helpful for Netflix, Amazon, Prime, and Disney Plus, where you can enjoy different content from different countries. With my exclusive deal, you can use the link in the description to grab an 84% off discount, plus 4 months free. With this, you also have a 45-day money-back guaranteed, which is beautiful, and 24/7 customer support. So you can honestly try it completely risk-free. Thank you again, CyberGhost, for sponsoring the video. So let's talk about why Lewis Hamilton is changing his iconic late-braking style. This was obviously the biggest story of probably the decade of Lewis going from Mercedes to Ferrari. Quite the bold move to make, and it seemed like the better one, but Mercedes does have the better car as of right now, and Ferrari is still a step behind the rest of the top 3. So I'm going to give you the reasons. Reason number 1 being Ferrari's unique car characteristics. Hamilton's signature style is obviously late braking, hard rotation, and exploiting the forward pitch the car used to give before the ground effect era, working its wonders on all those Mercedes cars he drove. He'd brake super late to load the front tires to really rotate the car's rear for sharp corner exits, and he was the best at it. It was pretty clear. But this SF25 demands a very different approach. It's designed for more smoother inputs and better tire management, clearly, especially in the high-speed stuff. That's where he's actually missing most of his pace at Leclerc. We'll talk about this a bit later. And the actual aggressive braking that he typically goes along with has caused understeer and tire wear. He's admitted to himself that the car requires a much different driving style and settings. He's learning to ease off late braking and adapt to a more Leclerc-like flow. A lot of people talk about driving style not really being a thing in Formula 1, but Lewis Hamilton himself has stated now multiple times he has to change his driving style and approach to the car to actually get up to par with his very young and ferocious teammate Charles Leclerc. The brake systems being different is another big hurdle as well. Hamilton spent 15 years with carbon industry brakes at Mercedes, mastering obviously the bite and the feel of these brakes. Ferrari uses Brembo brakes, which have a different initial bite and progression. He yet again stated, the brakes are much different, I'm adjusting to that, slowly getting it into my head. This muscle memory shift is critical, and braking is where Lewis is losing tenths, especially in qualifying. He's also doing something very different that he never had in Mercedes. being another reason, the engine braking and really power delivery. The Ferrari car actually requires engine braking, which is something that Hamilton very rarely used while he was in the Mercedes car. And the tweak itself is pretty vital for corner entry stability, but it's definitely thrown off his rhythm in low speed corners where he is losing less time than you would expect to Leclerc. Team setup philosophy is another reason here. Ferrari's setup approach is different to that of Mercedes. Leclerc also has a baseline setup going into every single GP weekend, which is something that Lewis obviously does not have going from another team to this one. So he's going to try a couple of different things, maybe not match up with Leclerc because of the clashing styles. And it will take time for him to really hone in on the car. It's kind of like Carlos. Both are struggling, but in different ways. And when the settings are off, you can see these old habits that Lewis is trying to break, and it's just not working on what is a clearly very nervous SF25. And the last reason being for this change of driving style, it's pretty clear to see, unless everything has gone wrong, the ground effect era for Lewis definitely does not match his late braking style. It clashes with these 2025 cars because they have these low ride heights and a reduced pitch, and almost neutralizes these braking strengths and capitalizes off of way smoother inputs because Lewis is pretty aggressive on the wheel. And the Ferrari car, not to mention, has higher ride heights right now, so sacrificing some performance to gain compliance is another factor into these reasons for this driving style change. But it's also a big talking point on where he's losing to Leclerc. The tenths that he's losing in qualifying don't just come out of nowhere. They're specifically in medium to high speed corners where he's losing the most time. In the Bahrain GP in turn 11, Leclerc was significantly faster than that of Lewis. A medium to high speed corner with a speed advantage of 10 kilometers an hour, where Leclerc's edge was coming from a smoother two-stage little turn to big turn approach. He also uses a very weird approach where he overlaps the throttle and brake inputs to rotate the car, which allows for him to actually turn it in better and keep it a bit more stable. It's a bit tricky, something Michael used to do back in the day. And Leclerc has a much better ability right now to trust the front end of the car to take these aggressive lines. And the telemetry itself shows that Hamilton sacrifices mid-corner speed for stability, likely due to the discomfort in the car's rear movement. Now for China, it was turns 12 and 13, that very big right-hander going into the straight. Both medium to high speed corners, Leclerc was faster along both those. Even with the front wing damage in the race, it was clear that Leclerc was the better of the two. And yet again, that understeer was definitely hindering him through those corners. Turn 6 in Australia is another one of those corners where Leclerc was gaining speed. So anywhere where it's medium to high speed, Leclerc has the advantage over Lewis. And mainly this comes from driving style and confidence, as Leclerc has now honed a more smoother style than what he previously had in the non-ground effect era. So it's less aggressive inputs to line better with this weird, very nervous SF25. And he's reducing understeer, which in these cars, you cannot have whatsoever. The characteristics of the car right now, as I've stated multiple times in this video, is a very front-oriented car, nervous, and the rear end loves to step out. It's obviously nothing like a Red Bull where the rear end is pretty much non-existent and you have to rely a lot more on instinct and the front biting. But the dynamic of Lewis in the SF25 has not clicked or synced at all. There was obviously a glimpse of some very, very competitive speed from Lewis in China where he got that P1 in the sprint. I think this also helped because the setup window was super small and they only had one free practice session. Lewis capitalized upon that, had the car in a good state, and had the clean air to run a really good stint. But the race pace used to be his advantage. Now he doesn't have an edge in both qualifying or the race. But slowly but surely, Lewis should get up to par with Charles. I mean, we're talking about a 7-time world champion. I actually think the 2026 cars are going to work much better for him as we're going away from the ground effect. And with how much power is being put through these cars, there's a lot of problems that I want to talk about soon in a video. But late braking actually should work much better in these newer cars to recharge that battery. And I believe Lewis could come back to himself in 26. He's got to get there. It's going to take a bit of time for him to actually adjust his car, maybe a little bit more than we expected. But as the season goes on, I still have very high hopes for Lewis. He is statistically the best driver of all time, and it would be shocking to not see him be at least a tenth or two behind Leclerc on most weekends in qualifying and then up to par in the race. But yet again, one of the things CyberGhost for sponsoring this video. Make sure you go check them out, use my code, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please give it a like, subscribe, it would mean the world, and peace.